Hello, class. We are moving into Chapter 7 on reliability, validity, and test worthiness. Reliability and validity are two essential components that are critical to testing, as well as within the field of research from which they emerge. Reliability refers to the consistency and stability of a measurement instrument, while validity refers to the degree to which that measurement instrument measures what it's intended to measure. Reliability is important because it helps ensure that the findings, the results are consistent and can be replicated. In other words, reliable measurements are those which produce similar results when used multiple times under the same condition. There are different types of reliability: test-retest reliability, inter-rater reliability, and internal consistency reliability. Validity ensures that the measurement instrument produces what it is intended to measure. The results are what the instrument is intended to measure. There are different types of validity, including face validity, content validity, construct validity, and criterion validity. It is important to note that a measurement or assessment can be reliable without being valid. But if a measurement is valid, it is usually also reliable. Counseling assessment and testing errors can certainly have a significant impact. The errors can result in misdiagnosis, inappropriate treatment, perhaps a lack of progress in therapy. It's important for us as counselors to be aware of the common errors that can occur during the assessment and testing process. One common error in counseling assessment is over-reliance on standardized tests, and I know we've talked about that in a previous chapter. In other words, the test or assessment should not be the sole basis, right, for making a diagnosis or a treatment plan. Another error that can occur is confirmation bias, and I know we've referred to that in a previous chapter in the text, that this is when we interpret the information in a way that confirms our preconceived notions or expectations. This, of course, is biased, right? We need to remain objective and open-minded when conducting assessments and testing. In addition, cultural bias can have an impact. We need to be very much aware of our own biases and how they may influence our interaction with clients. There can be communication errors. It's important that we establish clear and open communication with our clients so that we're gathering accurate information. Assessment is a critical component of the counseling process. We've named that previously. It's about us gathering information from our clients about their experiences, emotions, behaviors. Errors in assessment can lead to inaccurate conclusions and can hinder the effectiveness of any counseling interventions or treatment plan. A common error in assessment is the discrepancy between a client's true score and their observed score. The true score represents the individual's actual level of a particular trait or construct, perhaps anxiety, depression, self-esteem, as some examples. In other words, it's the hypothetical score that would be obtained if the assessment were completely error-free and accurately capture the client's experiences and behaviors. In contrast, the observed score is the score that's actually obtained through the assessment process. Now, this score is influenced by various factors, such as the quality of the assessment tool, the client's response bias, and our interpretation of the results. Discrepancies between a client's true score and observed score can occur for different reasons. For example, the assessment may lack validity and reliability. Additionally, clients may provide socially desirable responses or withhold information that could affect the accuracy of the observed score. Again, our own biases, assumptions, and preconceptions can also impact the interpretation of results. Again, discrepancies can significantly impact a variety of aspects within the counseling process. If we rely on inaccurate results, then we are potentially, again, risking inaccurate diagnosis, inaccurate interventions, inaccurate treatment plan, etc. Inaccurate referrals. To minimize errors and enhance the accuracy, we need to take several steps. Again, we need to select assessment tools that are valid, reliable, and culturally sensitive. We need to make sure that we have a rapport with our clients that create that safe, trusting environment and encourage open, honest communication. Again, we need to critically examine our own biases and assumptions. Seek consultation and supervision when needed. There are sources of error that can affect the accuracy and reliability of the assessment results. One of the primary sources of error that I've referenced is the counseling bias, right? Another source of error is the lack of standardized procedures. We need to follow the standardized procedures that are outlined for that assessment tool or test. If not, it can result in inconsistent and unreliable results. Standardized procedures help ensure that the assessments and tests are conducted in a very consistent, systematic manner so that accurate and reliable results are obtained. Inadequate training and experience can also lead to errors. So we need to make sure that we seek out professional development opportunities and stay informed on the latest developments in the field so that we are able to provide the high quality assessments that our clients deserve. There, of course, can be client factors that contribute to errors. They may provide inaccurate, incomplete information. Their emotional state or mental health issue can certainly impact their ability to accurately report their needs or their problems. Random error refers to the unpredictable fluctuations that can occur. Random errors can arise from various factors such as measurement variability, environmental influences, individual differences, and clients' behavior. These errors can distort the assessment results and make it difficult for us to obtain that accurate picture. Systematic error refers to the consistent biases or inaccuracies that can occur in the assessment process. And these errors can stem from various factors such as faulty assessment tools, perhaps biased interpretation, and our own counselor prejudices. Systematic errors lead to skewed understanding of our clients' needs and again can hinder various aspects of the counseling process. Time sampling error occurs when the assessment is conducted at a specific point in time that may not really fully capture our clients' experiences, their emotions, or their behaviors. And again, these time sampling errors can impact the validity of the assessment and may not accurately represent our client's true state. Item sampling error occurs when the assessment tool includes items that are not relevant to the client's needs or experiences. Again, that may not capture thereby the full scope of the client's presentation. And so item sampling errors can result in incomplete or even misleading assessment results. Inter-rater error occurs when different assessors interpret the assessment results differently, or when there is inconsistency in the ratings given by multiple assessors. There, of course, can be clerical, administrative errors as well. Standard error of measurement, SEM, is a critical component. It refers to the amount of error that can be expected in a test score. It is important consideration as we interpret assessment results. SEM is a measure of the accuracy of a test score. It's calculated based on the variability of test scores within a population. A high SEM indicates that the test scores are less reliable, while a low SEM indicates that the test scores are more reliable. In other words, smaller SEM suggests that the test scores are more accurate and consistent. Additionally, SEM is important to determine the confidence that can be placed in the test scores. If a test has a high SEM, we may need to consider other sources of information, or perhaps conduct additional assessments or tests in order to gain a more accurate understanding of our client's situation. It's important to consider SEM as we use test scores for decision making. Confidence intervals play a crucial role in counseling assessment and testing. They provide a range of values within which we can confidently say that the true score or population parameter lies. In other words, confidence intervals help us interpret test scores. They can help us assess client progress and make informed decisions. No test is perfect. There's always going to be some level of measurement error. Confidence intervals help to account for this error and provide a range of values that may contain the true score. In testing, confidence intervals are used to determine whether a client's scores are statistically significant. Confidence intervals can also be used to compare the scores of different groups. We know that reliability is a critical component and aspect of counseling assessments and tests, in that it refers to the consistency and stability of the results obtained through the assessment. There are several methods that can be used to estimate reliability in counseling assessments. One common method is that test-retest reliability. It involves administering the same assessment to the same individual on two different occasions and comparing the scores. If the scores are consistent, it indicates that the assessment is reliable. Test-retest reliability is particularly important in counseling assessments as it helps ensure that the results are not influenced by factors such as mood or temporary situational factors. Another method is the inter-rater reliability. This involves having two or more raters independently score the assessment and compare their scores. Again, if the scores are consistent from the raters, then the assessment is reliable. Internal consistency reliability is another method. This involves assessing the extent to which the items on the assessment are interrelated and measure the same underlying construct. Within reliability, we talk about the reliability coefficient, that statistical measure that's used to quantify the degree to which the same results can be obtained under reliable over time. Reliability coefficient's the quantity of variability in the observed score. It allows us to compute reliability. I have just mentioned and outlined these coefficient, the retest coefficient, and I spoke about the inter-rater and the internal consistency reliability as well. Here again, the retest reliability. Again, it's the consistency when taking a measure at one point, then taking it again. It helps determine the stability of a measure over time. The retest reliability coefficient is calculated using the Pearson product moment correlation formula. A high correlation coefficient indicates a strong retest reliability. That's a very important point and an important understanding within statistics as it applies to counseling assessment and testing. Parallel or alternative form reliability. This type of reliability is crucial in that it helps make accurate and valid assessments of our clients. We want to use multiple forms of the same test to minimize the impact of test-specific factors on the results. Parallel or alternate form reliability is used to determine how consistent the results obtained from different versions of the same test are. Again, it helps ensure that the results obtained are not influenced by other factors. So we would administer two versions of the same test to the same group of individuals and then compare the results. If the two versions of the test results obtained are consistent, then the test has high parallel or alternate form reliability. If they're inconsistent, then the test may not be reliable and may need to be revised. There are two common methods within this parallel alternate form reliability. Simultaneous alternate form reliability refers to the consistency of scores obtained from two parallel forms of a test that are administered simultaneously. One of the primary reasons for using two alternate forms of a test simultaneously is to minimize the effects of practice or exposure to the same test content on that test taker's performance. By administering two different but equivalent forms of the test at the same time, we can assess whether the results obtained from both forms are consistent and reliable measures of the construct being measured. Delayed alternate form reliability is another method. This is particularly important in situations where the same test cannot be administered twice, such as perhaps in clinical settings or longitudinal research studies. In delayed alternative form reliability, two different versions of a test are administered to the same group of individuals at two different points in time. Again, the scores are compared to determine the reliability of the measurement. One of the advantages of delayed alternative form reliability is that it helps to minimize the impact of practice effects on test scores. Practice effects occur when individuals become more familiar with a test after repeated exposure, thereby perhaps leading to artificially inflated scores. So by using two different versions of a test, delayed alternative form reliability helps to ensure that any changes in scores over time are due to actual changes in what is being measured rather than the influenced familiarity, if you will, to the test. This also helps assess the stability of a measurement over time. Internal consistency reliability. It refers to the extent to which a measurement instrument, such as a test or questionnaire, consistently produces similar results when used repeatedly under the same conditions. In other words, internal consistency reliability assesses the degree to which all items on a scale or test measure the same construct or attribute. One of the most commonly used measures of internal consistency reliability is Cronbach's alpha, which calculates the average correlation between different items on a scale. This coefficient can range from 0 to 1, with higher values indicating greater internal consistency. A Cronbach's alpha of 0.70 or higher is generally considered acceptable. There are several ways to assess internal consistency reliability, including split half reliability, which involves dividing a scale into two halves and comparing the scores on each half. Another method is the use of a test-retest reliability. Again, that involves administering the same measurement instrument to the same group of participants at two different time points and comparing the results. The Kudar-Richardson method is a measure of reliability used specifically for tests with dichotomous variables. That inter-rater reliability plays an important role. Again, inter-rater reliability refers to the degree of agreement or consistency of different raters or observers when assessing the same phenomena or behavior. This is a very important aspect within the fields of education, healthcare, psychology. One of the key reasons why inter-rater reliability is essential is that it helps us evaluate the trustworthiness of the data and the reliability of the measurements. For when multiple raters or observers are involved, it's important to ensure that they are all interpreting and applying the assessment criteria in a consistent manner. If there's a lack of agreement among raters, this can lead to biased or inaccurate results. Improving inter-rater reliability often involves providing clear and detailed guidelines for the raters and observers, ensuring adequate training and feedback, and conducting regular checks to monitor agreement levels. Assessment test validity, assessment test validity, right? This ensures that the test accurately measures what it is intended to measure. There are several types of validity that are commonly used. Content validity is the most basic type, and it refers to the extent to which the test content matches the knowledge or skills that are being measured. Construct validity refers to the extent to which the test accurately measures the underlying theoretical construct that it's designed to assess. Criterion-related validity is another important type of validity that assesses the relationship between the test scores and an external criterion. This type of validity is particularly important in predicting future performance based on test scores. Ensuring the validity of an assessment test is crucial to make informed decisions based on the test results. A valid test provides accurate, reliable information about the person, the individual, the client. Construct underrepresentation and construct irrelevance are common issues that can have a significant impact on the validity and reliability of findings. Understanding these concepts is important. Construct underrepresentation occurs when certain aspects of a construct are not adequately captured or represented. This can lead to biased results and incorrect conclusions. Construct irrelevance refers to including irrelevant variables or measures that do not contribute to understanding the construct of interest. This can lead to confusion and misinterpretation of results. So these concepts, construct underrepresentation and construct irrelevance, can have serious implications for the findings. Inaccurate conclusions, of course, is one outcome that can happen. Content validity and face validity are important concepts as well. These types of validity are essential for ensuring that the instruments accurately measure what they are intended to measure. Again, content validity refers to the extent to which the instrument covers all the aspects of what is being measured. In other words, does the instrument include all the necessary components to adequately assess the variable of interest? Content validity is typically assessed by experts in the field who review the instrument and determine whether it accurately represents the construct being measured. Face validity refers to the subjective judgment of whether a research or assessment tool or instrument appears to measure what it's intended to measure. Face validity is a more superficial form of validity. This assesses whether that instrument or assessment, quote, looks like it's measuring the intended construct. Face validity is not as rigorous as content validity. Construct validity. Again, this refers to the extent to which a measure accurately assesses the theoretical construct it's intended to measure. Construct validity examines whether a particular instrument truly captures the underlying abstract concept or the idea that's being assessed or studied. The two key components of construct validity are convergent validity and discriminant validity. Convergent validity refers to the degree to which two measures that are theoretically expected to be related are indeed related. Convergent validity would be demonstrated if all the measures yield the same results. On the other hand, discriminant validity examines the extent to which measures that are theoretically expected to be unrelated are indeed unrelated. Both convergent and discriminant validity are crucial in establishing the overall construct validity of an instrument, assessment, or test, or research study. Without these components, we wouldn't be able to confidently claim that the measures are accurately represented and the theoretical constructs that they are intended to measure are accurately represented. This leads to factor analysis. Factor analysis aims to reduce the complexity of the data by finding patterns and relationships between variables. This way we can understand the structure of the data more easily. Factor analysis is often used in social sciences like psychology and other fields. Again, we are looking at understanding the relationships between different variables. By identifying common factors among a set of variables, we can gain insight into the underlying structure of the data and make sense of the relationships between the variables. The two main types of factor analysis are exploratory factor analysis, EFA, and confirmatory factor analysis, CFA. EFA is used when researchers do not have a specific hypothesis about the relationship between the variables and want to explore the data to identify underlying factors. On the other hand, CFA is used when researchers have a specific hypothesis about the relationship between the variables and want to test the validity of the model. Factor analysis relies on a few key assumptions, including the assumption of linearity, the assumption of multivariate normality, and the assumption of sampling adequacy. One of the main benefits of factor analysis is that it allows us to reduce the dimensionality of the data and identify the most important factors that explain the variation in the data. The omega coefficient is a statistical measure that's used to assess the internal consistency of a test or scale. It's similar to other reliability coefficients, such as the Cronbach's alpha. One of the advantages of the omega coefficient is that it provides a more accurate estimate of internal consistency when the underlying factor structure of a test is not Dow equivalent. Dow equivalent means that all items on a test measure the same underlying construct equally well. In reality, this is often not the case, as some items may be more or less related to the construct being measured. The omega coefficient takes into account these varying relationships between items and provides a more accurate estimate of internal consistency. Another advantage of the omega coefficient is that it can handle more complex factor structures, such as hierarchical or bifactor models, with greater accuracy. To calculate the omega coefficient, researchers typically use specialized statistical software that can handle the complex calculations. Criterion-related validity is a type of validity that assesses whether how well a test or measure predicts the person who's taking the test, their performance in a given criterion. Essentially, it examines the degree to which scores on a test correlate with scores on a predetermined criterion. The two main types of criterion-related validity are concurrent validity and predictive validity. Concurrent validity involves comparing the scores of individuals on two tests that are administered at the same time. If the scores are highly correlated, it suggests strong concurrent validity. On the other hand, predictive validity assesses the ability of a test to predict future performance on that criterion. This helps determine the predictive validity of a test. Criterion-related validity is crucial because it allows us to determine the usefulness and validity No, rather it allows us to determine the usefulness and reliability of a test or measure. If a test has a high criterion-related validity, it means that those who have high scores on the test are likely to perform well on the criterion. One common method for assessing criterion-related validity is through the use of correlation coefficients. These coefficients provide a numerical value that indicate the strength and direction of the relationship between the test scores and criterion scores. Experimental validity is another concept. It refers to the extent to which the results accurately reflect the real-world phenomena being studied. In other words, it measures the accuracy and reliability of the findings obtained through the assessment or test or experiment or study. There are several types of experimental validity. We have internal validity, external validity, construct validity, and statistical conclusion validity. Assessing the validity of a treatment can be done using different approaches, like comparing the effectiveness to already established treatments or evaluating the social significance and acceptability of the treatment's goals, procedures, results, etc. Test worthiness and trustworthiness are another two essential qualities that determine the reliability and credibility of a test or assessment. While they may seem similar, they actually have different implications and serve different purposes. Test worthiness refers to the technical quality of a test. That includes its validity, reliability, and fairness. Trustworthiness refers to the ethical and moral integrity of the test and the individuals or those who are administering it. A trustworthy test is one that is administered in a fair and unbiased manner. Trustworthy tests also prioritize the well-being of test takers and ensure that their rights and privacy are protected. In evaluating the worthiness and trustworthiness of a test, it's important to consider how these qualities interact and complement each other. Trustworthiness is a term that we often associate with qualitative research. Qualitative tests must show the following forms of rigor to be trustworthy. We have the credibility, which is similar to internal validity, as if the results are accurate. We have transferability, which is similar to external validity and refers to the results and methods of research that can be related to other contexts, settings, or populations. We have dependability, which is most aligned with reliability and is related to the consistency of the findings over time. Confirmability is if the findings can be confirmed are accurate, as reported by the client or the individual. Qualitative assessment is an important tool in a variety of fields. One of the challenges of qualitative assessment is the potential for bias to creep in. Bias can skew the results of qualitative assessment, leading to inaccurate conclusions. To ensure the validity and reliability of qualitative assessment, it's essential to take steps to reduce bias. One way to reduce bias in qualitative assessment is to ensure that the research design is rigorous and well thought out. This includes clearly defining the research questions and objectives, selecting appropriate data collection methods, and establishing criteria for the data analysis and interpretation. Another important strategy for reducing bias in qualitative assessment is to use multiple sources of data and perspectives. By collecting data from a variety of sources, then the findings can be triangulated in order to validate their conclusions. This can help to counteract the influence of individual biases and ensure that the assessment is more objective and comprehensive. Reflexivity is a concept that originated in the field of sociology. It's been adapted by various disciplines. At its core, reflexivity is the idea that individuals are not passive observers of the world around them, but rather active participants who shape and are shaped by their experiences, beliefs, and interactions. One key aspect of reflexivity is the recognition that our identities are not fixed or static, but rather fluid and constantly evolving. This means that who we are and how we see the world is influenced by a multitude of factors. Another important aspect of reflexivity is the idea of self-awareness and self-critique. By reflecting on our own thoughts, actions, and motivations, we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. Researchers who practice reflexivity are aware of their own positionality and biases and take steps to mitigate their influence on their work. In everyday life, reflexivity can help us navigate the complexities of modern society. By approaching the world with a reflexive mindset, we can critically evaluate the messages that we're receiving, question the status quo, and make informed decisions about our beliefs and actions. Supervision and consultation are excellent tools and resources that can be used to process through the construct of reflexivity. Developing quality assessments in counseling is essential. Here are some steps. We want to make sure that we're able to first of all identify and define the concept that's being measured, the concept. We want to set the structural framework. We want to develop the test items. We want to survey experts in the field. We want to look at the pretest items and consider factor analysis. Additional steps, we have the item analysis. This involves reviewing the item performance and refining and improving the quality of the items on the test and the test quality. We have item discrimination, how well an item can distinguish between test takers who have varying levels related to what the test measures. We have item difficulty, the proportion of individuals who answer the item correctly. We have the discrimination index measure, how items perform to distinguish among test takers who process or possess the knowledge being assessed with those who do not. Then we have the item response theory, IRT. This supports the assessment development, evaluation, and scoring by focusing on the connection between the individual's ability or trait and their likelihood of providing a correct response to that specific test item. This concludes the exploration of the important aspects and constructs within Chapter 7 this week. Thank you.